for 1,000,000 years, chilling in a block of ice.
From a caveman brought back to life in Encino Man to George of the Jungle,
Watch out for the tree.
to the Mummy,
There's something out there. Something underneath that sand.
Brendan Fraser seemed to be everywhere in the 90s.
Everybody having a good time tonight?
And then, suddenly, he disappeared. Overcoming injuries he got making movies, raising his young kids, dealing with a very public divorce. And just as suddenly it seems, he's back.
People are amazing.
With his widely lauded portrayal of Charlie, the deeply troubled lead character in The Whale.
I need to know that I have done one thing right with my life.
The dramatic turn is his big Hollywood comeback, embraced by critics and giving this Canadian a serious shot at an Oscar. Very nice to sit down with you.
My pleasure.
The standing ovation in Venice, the speech at the Toronto International Film Festival, basically your name and the Oscar has been mentioned in the same sentence for months now. What's it been like living your life?
That's those are not associations I anticipated hearing in my professional journey, but to hear that now is it's rewarding, and it still feels like that's about someone other than myself.
We're going to talk a lot more about the film in a moment, but let's just step back for a little bit. And I want to talk about Canada. You have Canadian parents. You lived in many places, including Canada. And I wonder, what impact has Canada had on you or you as an actor?
It shaped me to who I am at my very core. My ancestors are French Canadian. I grew up in Ottawa, in Toronto. My mother hails from Saskatoon, and my father from Nova Scotia. It's a place that whenever I travel back, it's got to be in my bones or my DNA or something, because I suddenly feel I'm home. I was born in the United States, but I'm a Canadian born abroad. I should say also, while my high school days were in Toronto, I was largely permitted to remain in school because of the association I had with the Little Theatre Company. It's really only where I fit in, to tell you the truth. I wasn't the best student, and I was not invited back for grade 13. I had to make a quick decision to decide, what does a 17-year-old kid do who's just fresh out of high school, whose real only place of feeling like I had some sort of association, some sort of feeling of community was working in theater. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna go train.
And now I'm thinking about those movies in the 90s, Encino Man.
Got some fresh nuts. Squeeze in the juice. Ow! Buddy.
And George of the Jungle.
Tookie tookie.
Ape kidnapped?
Tookie tookie. Ape napped.
School Ties as well.
I think you're so pretty.
The Mummy.
We are in serious trouble.
You were so successful, so visible. What was that decade like for you?
Those roles were largely fish out of water characters, like a Babe in the Woods,
Right.
the Naif, the new guy in town. And I knew a lot about feeling like the new guy in town, given that we traveled every 3-4 years. That came in handy, certainly, in a career pursuit in Hollywood. You're going to be reinventing yourself all the time, but you're still the same person underneath it all.
I was looking at a lot of video on YouTube last night, including an interview you did promoting The Mummy.
We finally saw the movie, and we saw what was on the other side was this creature that Industrial Light and Magic created that's like fearsome.
But the thing that really struck me about all of that was the comments. And people, I mean, they loved you, but in these comments, they're just so fond of you. One person actually said, I hope Brendan reads this and sees how much we love him. Do you have a sense of that?
You just told me. Yes. is the answer. I appreciate the support, and I don't think anyone ever tire of an anonymous stranger in the world who thinks favorably of you, right back at you, wherever you are. To reinvent a classic in The Mummy that before it comes out, there are always, no matter what you do, there's always going to be people cast aspersions about it or naysay or say, blow it off. It was kind of thought that it would be a wonky movie about a guy wrapped up in bandages going, oh, but it was a complete opposite of that. Audiences were delighted.
And then you stepped out of the limelight for a period of time, and you've talked about it. But since we're sitting here now, let me ask you, why?
I had some injuries. I had some just standard issues that men get with joints, degeneration of soft tissues between bones and spinal, blah, blah, blah. But I did, and I was able to heal. I was able to address the issues medically. But it took me a while. It took me all in like about 7 years, I think, spread out, which is my privilege because I'm much better for it. And it also gave me an appreciation of what's really important to me, and that is my kids, my family life. And that was when I first started my family. It wasn't until I did that when I realized, oh, this is why I run myself around doing this work, this job, because now I have a reason. It's so that I can be there for them, and also I can put that aside and not be the actor, movie guy. I just want to be a dad, and that's the time that I took to take advantage of it. Yeah.
You gave a heartfelt speech at TIFF.
It's the audience that gives cinema life. So I must thank you for keeping me in the job that I love.
One of the things you talked about is the risk, in your words, that the producers and the director of The Whale took in casting you. What was the risk?
The risk is that it might not find its audience by, virtue of and I'm a part of this, the fruit fly span of attention that we find ourselves with so much media and culture and the internet, et cetera. And sometimes we're reminded of actors who are talented. And that's something that Darren has an eye for. I know he reinvigorated Mickey Rourke's career with The Wrestler, a film I love, a tough watch. With Black Swan, I mean, the same thing. Interesting that both of his films were both about performers who were giving everything that they had, or else dire circumstances. And in The Whale, Charlie is a man with limited time, a health challenge that leaves him with, on paper, 5 days, and a great deal of, to good dramatic effect, regret that he has for life choices he has made or that have been made for him, and the need to connect with his daughter on his path of redemption.
You don't stay in touch with Mom?
She really only tells me things about you.
Why?
Because that's all I want to know about.
It's a wonderful, dramatic conceit, and then at the same time, he, on paper, weighs 600 pounds. His body's health has been compromised by overconsumption, and he finds himself immobile in this miasma of regret and guilt and aspiration, but at the same time, he's a guy who I feel like I know when I read this, or I wanted to be friends with this man. And they're, an amalgamation of people that I've known certainly in my life who influenced me to feel the way that Charlie does about the world, which is to bring out the honesty in others. He can see the good in them when they can't see that in themselves. And that's like a secret superpower that Sam Hunter, our writer, ascribed to him.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie is suffering so much pain, and there's despair, but there is, like him, probably some optimism. Is that, I don't know if that's the right word, but there's
perennial optimism.
Yeah.
I think it's probably part and parcel for having been so derided and recriminated all his life that the only alternative that he could have was to not collapse within to himself, is to take the opposite tack and do his best to bring out the good in others and implore them to speak honesty and give, in his case, he's an educator, the writing that they are assigned to him truth.
The point of this course is to learn how to write clearly and persuasively. Think about that. Think about the truth of your argument.
You must have loved doing this part.
I did.
Yeah.
Absolutely did. It had all the elements of everything I love about filmmaking, because it strikes the notes of the emotional journey that we all go on with, in this instance, everything that we wish we could have said or would have said.
If you, like a guy like Charlie, who I played in this movie, in any way struggle with obesity, or you just feel like you're in a dark sea, I want you to know that if you too can have the strength to just get to your feet and go to the light, good things will happen. Thank you.
You are at the top of your game. That's why people are associating you with the Oscars. A lot of people feel that you are the favorite to win the Oscar.
That's a lot of tea leaf reading.
I know, and it's not coming from you, I know. But I'm fascinated by people who are at the top of their game. And I wonder, like, let me ask you, what's the secret to your success?
I don't think I'm ever going to be able to answer that, because I don't know that I've ever succeeded, to tell you the truth. There's still an inherent instinct in me that someone's going to walk in the room and like, hey, Fraser, get back in the dish pit, And I hope that never leaves me. I never want to get too comfortable.
What's next for you?
It's an open slate. I'm going to have to sincerely get back to you on that, because I don't have a project lined up. I have for sure hopes and aspirations. I'd like to take advantage of all of that sauce at the moment to pursue projects that make me feel like I really care, like I really care about the whale. I think it's a film that can do a great deal of good, and I'm not in the business of doing public service messages or anything like that. But I am in the business of make-believe, and it's my job to do my best to suspend disbelief and have something to offer in a way that's interesting and new and can hopefully enlighten the discourse of our culture. It's a privilege to be a part of that. I hope I never lose sight of it.